What is up, everybody? Sean Sheehan here with the size up for UFC 220. Pretty good card this weekend on UFC Fight Pass on BT Sport. It's starting at midnight on Fight Pass. You can watch the prelims after that at 1 AM on Fight Pass and on BT Sports, and then at 3 AM the main card in Ireland and UK on BT Sport as well. As probably everyone tuning into this knows, there's two big title fights. The light heavyweight championship of the world between Oezdemir and Daniel Cormier is in the co-main event, and the main event is Miocic defending his belt against Francis Ngannou. There's not a great undercard, to be honest, on this one. We'll run through a couple of my picks for them. If you're on SevereMMA.com watching this video, you can look at the post. I'll have all my picks underneath, my bet of the week and everything, but we'll get to that in a second. What I want to get to first is just maybe a little bit of analysis of how I think the fights will actually go, how I think they'll play out. You know, they're both very interesting fights, the big fights. Miocic going for the record of the most title defenses in UFC heavyweight history, and he's a big underdog against Francis Ngannou. And if you're watching this, you probably know I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou. I've been a big admirer of his skills since he's come into the UFC, and even before seeing clips of him and stuff like that. He has really come on as a prospect and as a contender and possibly as a champion over the last year or so. And you know, it's an interesting fight. Look, you can look at it in a number of ways. You look at Miocic and you say, okay, he's the defending champion. How is he going to defend his belt? He is a well-rounded guy. A lot of his fights lately have been won by putting on pressure, using his striking, you know, using his power, getting the knockout, going through everything that he needs to go through to get the person up against the wall, up against the fence, put the pressure on, land the big shots. Previously, you know, he's mixed in the takedowns as well. We saw it against Mark Hunt. We saw it in fights before that previously as well, where he mixes it up. Maybe he doesn't get the takedown all the time, but he gets you thinking. And he's going to need to do that against Francis Ngannou. So there's that. You know, straight off the bat, that's how he fights. Goes forward, lands the power strikes. You know, very technical fighter, very good dirty boxing, good clinch work and all of that, mixes in the takedowns as well. And he's going to need to do that against Francis Ngannou. We know how Francis fights. He stands in the pocket, he waits for you to wade in, he'll counter you, land those big shots, he'll go forward when he needs to go forward, lands a nice jab, very long, big and strong and powerful. All he needs is one shot to knock you out. So that's basically the matchup. You're looking at everyone's weakness in this fight. The two guys, they have their weaknesses, they have obviously great strengths. Francis Ngannou, what are his weaknesses? His weaknesses, well, we don't really know because he hasn't been tested that much. I talked about it on the podcast last week. It was a little bit like McGregor coming into those Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo fights. You know, he, apart from his early career, he'd basically blown through everyone in a round or two. And it's the same for Francis, and with even less, because we you know, we'd seen McGregor on the ground. You know, we'd seen him fight in Cage Warriors title fights. So we'd seen him against pretty good guys. You know, we'd seen him against Max Holloway even. I know it's a lot different of a Max Holloway then than it is now, but for Francis Ngannou, we haven't seen him that much. I suppose the most you can take is the Oezdemir fight, and if you look at the Oezdemir fight, there was clinch work and there was striking mostly. You go back and you look at a couple of other fights. He was taken down in one of his first UFC fights, still went on to win it, got back up. So, you know, is the takedown, is the clinch an area where he struggles? Maybe. Against Oezdemir got him up against the fence pretty easily at the start of the fight. That was a clear plan. You know, he went out striking hard early to get into that range where he could push him up against the fence, and he did that. But Francis used his strength and his power to nullify that situation, and then ended up as the referee separated him, and you know, it didn't go on. So if you're looking at that situation, is Stipe strong enough to make his advantage in that area count? Because if you're not strong enough to get your technique in it's not going to work in the heavyweight division against someone like Francis Ngannou. You know, Overeem, we've seen Overeem take guys down before. You know, he's good technique, good against the fence. Look what he did to Brock Lesnar against the fence. Absolutely destroyed him with knees and dirty boxing up against the fence. So can Stipe? I think Stipe is better in that area and better with takedowns and everything as well. But is the gap big enough to overwhelm Francis and take his strength advantage away to stop him from nullifying that situation if it gets there? That's an interesting thing to look at. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So, you know, that's very, very interesting. I think that will be Stipe's game plan. In the striking, as I said earlier, Stipe he's changed his game up a little bit. He's become more of a progressive front foot boxer who puts on the pressure. We saw against Junior Dos Santos, especially in their second fight, he went forward, took those leg kicks off of Junior Dos Santos, had no problem with it, ate him to get in, to land his big strikes. We saw him against Fabricio Verdum, absolutely running straight for him to go after him, chasing him around the ring to get the knockout. That's the kind of fighter he is now. Against Francis Ngannou, that is pretty dangerous, because Francis, on the other hand, is that big power puncher. I mentioned it earlier on. He just hits so hard that it's unbelievable. Look at it, the fight against Overeem as well. And I think the most important point in that fight against Overeem was he didn't just land a big power strike, he landed it with technique, and defense won him that fight. If you go back and watch that fight, Overeem was coming out, he was swinging hard, and Francis got the knockout by watching Overeem coming in swinging hard, going back, keeping his head safe, and then coming in striking, landing that big, I think it was a left hook that he landed that knocked Overeem down, and then he landed a second shot and the coffin nail behind it as well. So that you can see that when he can do that against someone as good as Overeem, you know he's level. He is a high level fighter. But so is Stipe Miocic. You know, this is one of the most exciting fights in heavyweight history. Probably the two, you know, up there with Cain Velasquez as well, the two best technical fighters in heavyweight history. If you're talking about the best fighters in heavyweight history, you know, you have to put in Verdum and for Fedor and JDS as well, because of what they've achieved. But when you're talking about technical brilliance, you know, great fighters, I think those guys are definitely up there. Now, Stipe, obviously going for this record, is above him. Francis, if he beats Stipe, he has to be up there too, so I'm really looking forward to it. For my pick for that fight, it has to be Ngannou. I just think that Overeem fight and the way he got that knockout, with the intelligence, with the defense, that has added another layer, I think, to his game, with the power, with the strength, with the athleticism. That is just too much to overcome. I think Miocic will try to take him down. I think he will try to push him up against the fence, but I just think he'll be too strong and he'll nullify that situation like he did against Overeem again. Miocic's best way of fighting is when he goes forward and goes to attack you. You know, if he stands back and waits for Francis to come, he's going to get hit. He got hit against Overeem, Stipe did. He got knocked down twice. He got his leg hurt badly with leg kicks against Junior Dos Santos. You know, he's been knocked out before. There's ways to get to him, you know, and Francis only needs one shot. You know, we say it in this heavyweight division all the time, but with Francis Ngannou, it's more than anyone. He only needs one shot, and if he gets it, I think Stipe Miocic is going to sleep, and to be honest, I think he will get it. So I'm really looking forward to that. A very interesting fight. Then the co-main event, Daniel Cormier versus Volkan Oezdemir. Another interesting fight along similar lines, maybe not as, you know, not as big a gap, you know, of you know, Daniel Cormier is more of a wrestler and than Stipe Miocic is, and I think Volkan Oezdemir is more of a striker than Francis Ngannou is, so it's a little bit different. I think Volkan Oezdemir, when you're looking at his game, you know, we know Daniel Cormier's game. Daniel Cormier's game is he mixes up the striking, throws in his jab, uses very good boxing, tries to get in the clinch, put you up against the fence, take you down, get the takedowns, win those scrambles, position over submission all the time with Daniel Cormier, beat you up and break you. That's how Daniel Cormier fights. Volkan Oezdemir, on the other hand, he is a one-punch knockout artist. That's how he fights. He's not someone who's going to jab you up, use technical boxing to win a decision over you. That's not how he is. He comes in, he lands. That's what he does. You know, he might throw 1, 2, 3 punches. He's not a big volume puncher. He's not, he's not as I said, a 3-round, 5-round decision. I'll work out this game plan to take you apart. He's someone who goes in, finds ways of landing his shots and lands them. His last 2 fights, quick knockouts. Jimmy Manuel put him up against the fence. He landed those uppercuts, uppercuts up through the middle and in the kind of the hooks from the clinch around the side of him. Misha Serkinov as well got a big knockout over him. So he's very, very dangerous in that respect. The problem is when he fights that way against Daniel Cormier is he throws so hard and without setting it up a lot of the time. Now, he does set it up. I'm not saying he doesn't set it up, but like, you know what he's going to do. You know, if you're looking at another fighter, maybe they'll throw their 3 or 4 shots. Maybe they'll throw a little bit of a leg kick, come inside. Maybe they'll throw, as I mentioned with Stipe, you know, go in for the takedown and mix things up. For Volkan, he doesn't mix it up that much, you know, and that's why I say he's a little bit predictable. And because of that predictability of him throwing those big knockout shots, he gets into a lot of clinches. You know, he did it with Manuel. I know the fight only lasted, what was it, a minute or something like that, maybe even less. Van Semprou as well, when he fought him, got into that clinch and was taken down in that fight. So when he gets into that clinch, and if he does get into it, and if he doesn't knock out Cormier first blow, first knockout, for a first punch, it's going to be difficult because Cormier is so good in that clinch. If he gets clinched up, usually when Oezdemir gets clinched, he throws the punch and he like comes up with like another one, and it gets clinched when he has like his hand over his opponent's neck or something like that, you know, gets caught up inside. It's not that he means to clinch, it's that he just throws with such power that he kind of gets swarmed in. Against Cormier, very dangerous. You know, he's going to get taken down, he's going to get put on his back, he's going to get pushed against the fence, he's going to get controlled, and it's very, very, very dangerous. You know, that's how I see this fight going, more than likely. Volkan coming in, hitting hard, a little bit like Anthony Johnson, the same thing. He comes in, hits hard, and Cormier just overwhelmed him, swarmed him, got him down, and the fight was basically over there. You know, that happened. They fought twice, maybe. How many rounds did they fight? 4 or 5 rounds. It probably happened 4, 5, 6 times. You know, that's kind of how things go against Cormier. Now, if you're looking at ways for Volkan to win, I think there is ways he can win. And obviously, you know, I mentioned how he fights there. He comes in, looks for the big knockout. Daniel Cormier was knocked out in his last fight. Now it's been changed to a no contest because John Jones failed the drug test, but that still happened. You know, he still got that left shin across the head, and that takes something out of you. You know, we've seen it down through the years with a lot of fighters. We saw it like Chad Mendes against Frank Edgar when he'd been knocked out by McGregor before. Bisping only recently here against Kelvin Gastelum. You know, if he gets hit, will he have the same chin he used to have before? Not like, what is it, 5-6 months since the last fight. You know, people can recover from those, no doubt about it. We look at Bisping even from that Dan Henderson knockout. He recovered from that, took lots of shots after that. And Daniel Cormier hasn't taken that much damage, to be honest, but that was big. That could have been a changing one, a career changing one. That was a big knockout. We saw him afterwards, you know, complaining with Dana White and stuff. He was, you know, he was just completely out of it. Now we won't know that until it gets in there, and that's an interesting point going into this fight. I think, will Cormier be the same? And we just don't know. And if he's not the same, Oezdemir can knock him out. He definitely can, because he has that power, lightning quick, powerful strikes. You know, and if one of those catch him. And he's caught, you know, Manuel's no joke on the feet. Serkinov is no joke on the feet. He's caught those lads and knocked them out. So I'm interested to see if he can do that. But I'm giving him a puncher's chance, to be honest. I think this matchup favours Cormier in a big way. I think he'll take Oezdemir down. I think he'll probably end up finishing him in the 2nd or 3rd round. You know, Cormier loves get inside, get that underhook, get that control, push him up against the fence, pull his knees out from under him, push him against the floor in the cage, wedge him up there, absolutely destroy him. You know, Khabib Nurmagomedov style, catch the hand underneath his body and thump him with uppercuts when he's on the ground, make it an absolutely disastrous night for his opponent, and I think that's what he'll probably do to Oezdemir, to be honest. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'm picking Daniel Cormier in that, obviously picking Francis Ngannou as well in the main event. Some other picks here, just looking here, I like Kelvin Cater in his fight as well. Good prospect. He's the underdog coming into this fight, but I like him. Jean Vellante as well against Francimar Barroso. Almeida and Thomas Almeida against Rob Font, absolutely fantastic fight. 2 go forward, knock your head off guys. I'm struggling to pick that one, to be honest. I'm there. I think I'm going Font. I think I will go Font. Almeida's taken a bit of damage recently as well. A very, very good fighter. There's changes coming in his game, I think, and will they come yet? I'm not sure. He needs to become a little bit more refined to be a great fighter, I think. And when I say a great fighter, I mean like a championship level fighter. I think he's a brilliant, phenomenal, exciting fighter at the moment, but I just slightly give the edge to Font in that. I like Davis, Alassane, Pantoja, Julio Arce, Barzola, Moroz and Makachev in the other fights on the undercard. But yeah, as I said, not a great undercard. Julio Arce is a guy coming in there. I believe it's his UFC debut or close to it anyway, and he's a big prospect coming in. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Islam Makhachev as well, obviously a teammate of Habib, good friend of his. So definitely one keeping an eye on. My bet of the week: Francis Ngannou, 7-5, first round. A KO. I think that's the most likely outcome of that fight, and that's a pretty good price. As I said, card starting in Ireland and the UK at 12 midnight, 1 AM for the prelims and 3 AM for the main card. Keep it tuned, SevereMMA.com. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Sheehan BA throughout the night. I'll be tweeting it. I'll be up late into the night watching the card. So let me know if you like this video. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Severe Art on YouTube, SevereMMA.com.